Hello, this is somewhat of a homemade documentary um, as to what happens when you don't take your medications correctly and you go from being HIV positive to full-blown AIDS. I'm a result of that, and as bad as it is, I'm going to document this for everybody to see so that they can realize, anybody who does become HIV positive, that they take their meds correctly and don't end up doing the same stupid crap that I did. So, I mean, this is a lesson for everybody to pay attention to, because this is very real. And this just about killed me last summer, and I want everybody to know that this is something you don't play around with, especially if you've been diagnosed. I've written out my the whole story of this intro. Did it on purpose so that I wouldn't forget my details of my story, and because I mean, if I'm just going to do this off the top of my head, I'm going to be skipping from one place to another. So I wrote everything down, so forgive me if you see me reading. Okay, my name is Joe. I'm straight and I'm living with full-blown AIDS, also known as advanced HIV. I was diagnosed with this in April of 2004. My wife, who I was living with at the time, I live alone now, went to donate blood to the Red Cross as a kind, helpful gesture. About 3 weeks later, she received a phone call saying that her blood was no good, that she had HIV. Well, she came to me and questioned me about this and told me that I should get checked. Not only did it turn out that I was HIV positive, but that my blood counts were worse than hers. I knew I had other tests done in the last 5-6 years for HIV, just as an extra certainty that I was negative. The doctors every once in a while suggest it. Here in Canada they do anyway. But this HIV specialist told me that I've had this for a while. I asked her how long, and she said she didn't know. Within a couple of weeks, I was sent to another lady who gives out trial medications, which I had to agree with before I was sent to her. And she told me the same thing, that I've had this for a while. I asked her about how long, like 10 years? And she said, yeah, maybe even 12. I tried the trial meds for a couple of months, but had too much nausea from them, so I asked the specialist to take me off them and put me on something else. I never wanted to be a pill popper, meaning having to take pills every day, so I was negligent on taking the meds daily. I would go on them for a couple of weeks and then go off them for like a year. Well, this led to my CD4 T cells, the cells in your immune system that fight off infections, to drop considerably. This eventually began to give me psoriasis on my body. I thought I had caught this somewhere, and the doctor told me it was genetic. I asked my family about it, and nobody knew of anyone with it. I had never heard of the skin condition before now. As I kept neglecting my meds, I started to develop purple marks on my body, starting with a big one on my left nostril, right here. It's all cleared up now, thanks to chemo. I went to see my doctor about it. I also neglected to see my doctor often because I wasn't taking my meds and taking care of myself. You can say I was very depressed deep down, and that is very true. I decided in January of 2010 that I've had enough with the psoriasis, and now I wanted it to stop. So I devoted myself to taking my meds correctly. I was already in chemo because I had already been diagnosed with this cancer. They did a CT scan, and that's how they found it. But it was too late. In July of 2010, I started coughing up blood and developing more purple lesions on my body. One Monday morning, I woke up and went to the bathroom and started having trouble breathing. I noticed on my left foot many more lesions that I hadn't noticed before. I knew it was time to go to the hospital. I asked my dad to drive me there. I went to Sunnybrook Hospital. It's where I'm getting treatment, and the hospital I went to every single time, and waited 6 hours before being brought to a bed, unfortunately. The hospital ran tests for pneumonia, TB, and other lung infections. I told them I needed chemo because my other chemo treatments were finished. It had been 2 months since I had the last of my first chemo treatments, or the first chemo treatment, the drug that they were using. There was 6 to 8 treatments. I had 8 treatments done, and it had been 2 months since my 8th one. But the doctor had told me that, I mean, he can't give me any more. And obviously, that treatment didn't work. I was admitted and given a bed in a room. By that Friday morning, my breathing had worsened. They put me on oxygen and had set it at 5 liters so that I could catch my breath. I was scheduled at 11 a.m. for a bronchoscopy. I was a half an hour late, and they asked me why, and I said, because I couldn't breathe. Then they gave me a sedative and said it would make me feel drunk. Well, they tried to do the procedure, but couldn't. I came to I started feeling the sedative start to wearing off, and I started feeling, and the sedative was wearing off a little bit, and I came to, and I seen the doctor there, and I said to I heard that he had said that they were done, that they couldn't do it. I said, okay, what, you're done? Okay, I'm just going to lay down because I'm feeling the sedative. I woke up 2 days later in critical care unit, hooked up to hoses and a bunch of wires. Not knowing what happened, not knowing what happened the day before, to the day before, it was now Sunday. I want to know what happened to Saturday because I passed out on Friday morning and I woke up Sunday morning. My family told me that I had passed out on the gurney in the operating room, that my blood pressure had dropped and I stopped breathing. My heart was still going, but my breathing had stopped. 3 days after I woke up, my oncologist, cancer doctor, started me on this chemo, which you're about to see in the next part. I was released from the hospital a week after starting this new chemo treatment. Because I had made an excellent recovery, and the bleeding in my lungs had stopped, although I still had breathing problems, it was slowly getting better. This is what happens if you neglect your medications. I advise you not to do that.